Professor B. Mukherjee has pointed out that it is quite strange indeed to note that even after the various attempts made by Devdatta on the life of the Buddha, including injuring him, he was not expelled from the Sangha. So much so, he even went over to the Buddha as a monk and demanded the imposition of the 5 austere practices. As a justification for demanding the imposition of these practices, Devdatta is said to have appealed to the Buddha in these words. The Lord in many ways speaks in praise of desiring little, of being contented, of expunging evil, of being punctilious, of what is gracious, of decrease, of the obstructions, of putting forth energy. Lord, these 5 items are conducive in many ways to desiring little, to contentment. The Buddha leaves the option to the monks and enjoins Devdatta not to bring out a schism in the Sangha. So the Buddha says, whoever wishes, let him be a forest dweller. Whoever wishes, let him dwell in the neighborhood of a village. Whoever wishes, let him be a beggar for alms. Whoever wishes, let him accept an invitation. Whoever wishes, let him wear rags taken from a dust heap. Whoever wishes, let him accept a householder's robes. For 8 months, Devdatta, lodging at the foot of a tree, is permitted by me, that is, except during the rains. Fish and flesh are pure in respect of 3 points, if they are not seen, heard or suspected to have been killed for him. That is the Tikotipri Shuddha rule. So the Buddha points out this, and but Devdatta in turn, according to the account, accuses the Buddha of having become prone to luxury and abundance, especially because people esteem austerity. Devdatta then goes ahead through the formalities of creating the first schism in the Sangbhed, and leaves for Gyasis along with 500 sporting monks. According to the commentary of the Dhampada Katha, after this Devdatta tries to imitate the Buddha by keeping 2 chief disciples by his side. Among his followers, Devdatta also had some prominent personalities like Nan Thullananda, who upheld Devdatta as a stalwart in the Sasana. Thullananda, who was known for her knowledge of the Dharma, rated Devdatta above Sariput, Moglan and Mahakachan. So now the Buddha sends Sariput and Moglan to Devdatta's camp in Gyasis. After arriving in Gyasis, though these 2 seem to have approved of Devdatta's dharma, but when Devdatta goes to sleep, they convince the 500 wayward monks to return to the Buddha. And when Devdatta wakes up, he is so shocked by the events that he falls fatally ill, according to the sources. The Buddha subsequently remarks that Devdatta would fall into Niraya hell. However, when Devdatta breathes his last 9 months later, he makes a dying statement that he has no refuge other than the Buddha. Though Devdatta falls into Niraya hell, yet he is assured that after 100,000 eons, he would be born as a Pachek Buddha by the name of Atthissar. the criticism of Devdatta becomes more and more scathing with the passage of time. Thus, in the different commentaries of the Nikayas and later texts such as the Jatakas, Devdatta is depicted as quintessentially a wicked person. As many as 89 Jatakas primarily focus on the condemnation of Devdatta. In all the references, he is shown as the Buddha's arch rival who constantly competed with him and tried to capture the leadership of the Sangha. The different stories of the Jatakas portray Devdatta as performing a variety of evil deeds and as an incorrigible evildoer who was driven by ambitious and hateful intentions. However, Devdatta does not stand totally condemned in the Buddhist literature. As many as 3 suttas, discourses, have been named after him in the Pali Tipitaka itself. He is said to have even delivered a sermon. At a few places in the Pali literature, he is mentioned as an impeccable saint whose achievements were acknowledged by the Buddha himself. For example, the Anguttara Nikaya mentions Devdatta as the one who had the right view and could preach the correct dharma. Some monks found in him a ready friend who was at their service both in prosperity and adversity. So, how does one reconcile with such a contradictory description in the literature? In one of the dilemmas discussed in the Milindapanya, Devdatta is depicted as a mixture of good and evil. Here King Milinda asks Nagsen as to why, despite being wicked, Devdatta was not only quite equal to the Bodhisattva, but even sometimes superior to him, both in reputation and in the number of his adherents. To this, Nagsen replies that Devdatta was a protection to the poor, put up bridges and courts of justice and rest houses for the people, and gave gifts according to his bent to the shamans and brahmans, to the poor and needy, and the wayfarers. It was by the result of that conduct that from existence to existence he came into the enjoyment of so much prosperity.